Welcome, everyone, to episode 48 of the Golden Squeeze podcast. Not a lot of guys wore 48. It's not a very cool number, but shout out to Torrey Hunter. He did it. It is the road to WrestleMania. I got to see the WrestleMania sign when I was at SmackDown last week. Yeah, I got to see people point to it like idiots. And one of my sons ended up turning my background into the WrestleMania sign. So the background to my phone is now the WrestleMania sign, which will be held in Las Vegas, Nevada. And what we know so far about WrestleMania is we know who the Royal Rumble winners are going to be facing. First off is Jey Uso versus Gunther. And I think we all knew, just based off of the way the last number of months have gone and the interactions that Jey has had with Gunther, that he was going to pick Gunther. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me. I'm sure it doesn't come as a surprise to you. But what do you think of the pairing? What do you think? Do you think that match is going to deliver? Because I think that Jey Uso needs somebody like Gunther, since I've said numerous times I don't think that he's the best singles competitor. So he needs somebody who can carry him. And I think that Gunther is the perfect foil for Jey. What do you think?
I agree. And I wasn't sold at first, but just even the build over these past few weeks, I think the Gunther is doing great heel stuff right now, and I think it's going to make that pop be even more insane when Jey beats him.
But what if Jey doesn't beat him?
Well, we all know that Jey is going to win. I think even if it's a short-lived title reign, I think they're going to do what we have advocated for on here before, rewarding the fans for what they want. And I think that
it's not rewarding me. It's punishing me.
Well,
I'm a fan,
and I love Gunther, and I don't like the idea of him losing 2 WrestleManias in a row. But from what it appears, he is going to be at least get his spot in the main event of night 1, which is fine. And
why do you think that?
Why the main event of night 1? Because they keep referencing, they keep specifically saying in Jay's promos about main eventing WrestleMania. Like, they specifically use that wording.
So I didn't realize it was going to be main eventing. That's an awful decision, in my opinion.
Again, that pop when he overcomes him and gets that 3 count is going to be absolutely insane.
When you think about main eventing, I always ask myself, does my mom know who this person is? Or does she know somebody in the main event? So last year when The Rock was in it, can I ask my mom, does she know Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Yes, she does. So that can main event WrestleMania. The years that...
That's not fair.
It is fair.
No, it's not.
Name me a WrestleMania where the person who was in it was not a mainstream person. Cena's mainstream. Rock's mainstream. Austin's mainstream. Roman Reigns is now mainstream.
Okay. But now we're talking 2 nights. And
Ronda Rousey's mainstream. Trying to think of when the women did it.
Okay, well, no, just a couple years ago though. Night 1. Does your mom, was she familiar with KO and Sami Zayn and the Usos?
Did that main event in WrestleMania?
Yes, that main event in night 1 of when Roman beat Cody. That WrestleMania.
Learn from your mistakes then. Don't have matches like that. It's the main event. Have them lead off the night.
I thought that was a great match. I just hated the way too many false finishes and kicking out of finishers unnecessarily. But I thought that was a great tag team match. And the story that was built, that they had been building up to for months, I think was worthy of that spot.
Just because something's a great match doesn't mean that it should main event WrestleMania.
I think they did. I think they had a good build. I think that had a build worthy of main eventing, because there have been plenty of times over the years where they had great builds that should have been better placed on the card. Jericho versus KO immediately comes to mind. And just, I think at least in that situation, they did get it right with, especially with the 2-night format and the build and the fan investment in it. I thought that was the right call.
Let me just go through these main events of WrestleMania. Starting off with WrestleMania 1, Hogan and Mr. T versus Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful. Hogan's obviously mainstream. WrestleMania 2, Hogan versus King Kong Bundy. Hogan. Hogan versus Andre the Giant. Hogan.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
Macho Man Randy Savage. I think that people know Macho Man. I think everybody knows Macho Man. He's mainstream.
Yes, at that
WrestleMania
point,
5.
100%, yes.
Macho versus Hogan. Both of them.
Mm.
WrestleMania 6, Hogan versus Warrior. WrestleMania 7, Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. WrestleMania 8, Hogan versus Sid Justice. This is just awful. This is why people hate Hogan. WrestleMania 9, Hogan versus Yokozuna. Wait, did I say WrestleMania 8, Hogan versus Sid Justice. WrestleMania 9, Hogan versus Yokozuna. WrestleMania 10, Yoko versus Bret Hart. I feel like Bret Hart's mainstream, but I could be wrong. I think that my mom knows who Bret the Hitman Hart is.
I would say that's fair to say, yes. Especially at that time, yes. Most people probably know who Bret Hart is.
Yeah. 11, Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Lawrence Taylor's mainstream.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 12, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. WrestleMania 13, Psycho Sid versus The Undertaker. WrestleMania 14, Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels.
With Mike Tyson.
Yeah, with Mike Tyson. 15, Rock Austin. 16, or WrestleMania 2000, they called it. Triple H, The Rock, Mick Foley, Big Show. Awful main event, but it's got The Rock in it. WrestleMania 17, The Rock versus Austin. WrestleMania 18, Triple H versus Chris Jericho. So that's an interesting one. Obviously, Triple H is big now. I don't know if my mom knows who Triple H is, but I think she probably does.
Yeah, no,
I think she probably does.
I think I disagree with that one.
I think she probably does. But 19, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. Brock Lesnar's definitely mainstream. WrestleMania 20, Triple H.
But at that time, okay, well, Brock Lesnar's mainstream now.
I think Kurt Angle might have been.
No, that's what I was going to say. I mean, Kurt Angle was an Olympic gold medalist for our country. So, I mean, I think that, yes, that's fair to say.
Yeah. We're calling Triple H a star. So Triple H, Chris Benoit, Shawn Michaels. 21, Triple H, Batista. 22, John Cena, Triple H. 23, John Cena, Shawn Michaels. 24, Undertaker, Edge. 25, Triple H, Randy Orton. 26, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. 27, John Cena, The Miz. 28, The Rock, John Cena. 29, The Rock, John Cena. 30, Randy Orton, Batista, Daniel Bryan. Batista had his foray. I think Guardians of the Galaxy came out right around that time. So I'm going to go ahead and say Batista's a big enough name.
But that was another case, though. That was, at the time, them calling, I think, the rare audible and giving the fans what they wanted.
Yeah, but they still had a big name in there with Batista.
Yes.
And Randy Orton is, my mom doesn't know who Randy Orton is. WrestleMania 31, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. Brock Lesnar's huge by this point.
Yes, he was definitely
32,
mainstream.
Triple H, Roman Reigns. 33, Roman Reigns, The Undertaker. 34, Reigns, Lesnar. 35, Rousey, Flair, and Lynch. 6, Undertaker, AJ Styles. 36, Night 2, Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre. Now here we go. This is the first. I think this is the first match where it's not mainstream. WrestleMania 37, Night 1, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. I think that's the first one. That might be the first WrestleMania where it's no one's going to know who those people are unless you watch wrestling. Do you agree?
Yeah. Did Bianca do track and field in college? Is that what?
Yeah.
No, I mean that's why I'm asking. Because if it's because I was pretty sure that was the case. But if it was, a sport that's more televised, I would maybe
You're going to say basketball and get racist. I get it.
No, I was not.
I saw your mouth going, and then you thought about it. You thought, I can't say that. I can't say that.
I'm sorry, folks. Just real time. Canada just beat Team USA in the tournament.
All our Canadian fans, go out to Tim Hortons and celebrate. WrestleMania Night 2, Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan. WrestleMania Night 1, Stone Cold KO in 38. 38, day 2, Reigns, Lesnar. 39 is the one that we talked about. Jimmy J, KO, Sammy. And then Roman, Cody. And then Roman, Rock, Cody, Seth. then Roman, Cody. So 2 times in the history of this, and this is going to be 40, we'll say 43 main events, I think. How many night twos? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 4. This will be the 5th. No, 5. So there have been 5 night twos. So that's 45 main events. 2 of them did not have a mainstream star, and they're going to have to make this be the 3rd. So just because they've done it before doesn't mean they should do it.
And we decided we are going with, at that time, Ruthless Aggression or whatever, to go with Triple H's mainstream.
You said it. I said I don't know if I'm
No. But I mean, the argument could be made.
Yes, I'm going to say yes. I'm actually going to say he was, because now that I'm thinking about everything, DX was big. No matter who you were, DX was big.
Yes, that's a
so even if I say Triple H and then somebody says who, and then I say DX, they go
okay.
So Triple H definitely counts as being mainstream, because it didn't matter if you watched wrestling. When we were kids, everybody was saying, "Okay, it is what it is. He's mainstream." Yeah, so yeah, it's just Sasha and Bianca and KO, Sami Zayn, Jimmy, and Jey Uso. There is not a chance in hell that my mom has ever heard of any of those 6 people: Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Did Snoop Dogg come out with Sasha Banks when she main evented WrestleMania? Because if he did, then it's just Jimmy J, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. That's the only time it's ever happened.
I don't know. I remember that he did walk with her and sing when it was that fatal 4-way. That was the but I do not know. I do not know if he did or not.
Okay. And I don't know if he did. If he did, I think it changes my perspective on that match, because I don't know if they were highlighting Snoop Dogg being there, because that'll draw eyes to seats. But the bottom line is that Jey Uso and Gunther, I don't think is big enough to main event WrestleMania. If for the only fact that it seems they're going to have a crowded main event scene at this year's WrestleMania, especially if The Rock is wrestling. So then what are we doing with Cody? And Cody versus who we think he's going to fight. I mean, there's going to be some sort of convoluted multi-man match involving CM Punk and Seth Rollins and probably Cody Rhodes. And that means that can't main event. Because The Rock is main eventing if he's in it. So I think The Rock might create more problems than it does solutions.
I don't know what's going to happen. I have a theory, which I know is probably dead wrong.
Let's hear your Austin theory.
And I know it's not going to happen, but you could, if something has changed, you could lead off the whole show with Rock versus Roman, if they're going to keep the titles as main events. Because I just keep going back to the favor that Paul Heyman owes Punk. That's why I just think he is somehow going to be in. Well, okay, let me go back. First of all, I do not believe what lots of sites say about John Cena going to win the Chamber, and that's what's penciled in. I think those are all red herrings. I don't.
The site that I used to get the matches, it had WrestleMania 40. What are we at? 41.
Yes.
It had that year, and it said John Cena versus TBD.
Oh no, and I personally believe it's probably going to be John Cena versus Logan Paul. If I had to take a guess, I don't see it being Cody and John Cena. At least not in a straight one-on-one. I just, like I said, I can't, so much that's still being brought up and references made to the favor that Heyman owes Punk and that whole thing. I just think they put Punk in a main event this year, and it's not going to be Cody versus Gunther. I think it would have to be a match with Cody. But dude, there's just so much unknown, and I'm wondering if there'll be any type of light shed on that, because I think it's also interesting that this Rock appearance is happening pre-Chamber. I think that's interesting too.
Yeah,
And so
when is Chamber?
a week from Saturday. I think
So
March.
two SmackDowns.
Yes. Yes. But
Hey,
something has happened for this to be this short notice advertising, because it's weird because they've Rock's shown up as surprises on free television before, multiple times in the past few years. He's done that, and I don't see their I don't see New Orleans, in a city where they host WrestleMania quite frequently. I mean, by you know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Like enough times, it's pretty much in a type of rotation. It seems for New
yeah,
Orleans. I don't see them. I don't see ticket sales being an issue for SmackDown in and of itself, and so I don't think it was a move to try to sell tickets, to try to sell remaining tickets. Just something. This is just weird.
yeah. It is. But you made a comment about The Rock and Roman leading off.
I know that would never
No.
happen. I'm just trying to think here of how this works without it being too convoluted with like multiple fatal four ways and triple threats to get all these top notch guys matches.
Yeah. There's only one bona fide stud who opens up a WrestleMania, and that's just so he can leave, and that's Brock Lesnar. That's just too big of a match to have lead off the show. But you never know. It would be exciting. But as a consumer, if I'm WWE, what's going to make people watch the whole thing, which is what they want? Putting Roman Rock last makes them watch the whole thing.
I agree.
You stop watching. If you're a casual fan, that leads off. And I know that Gunther Jay is the main event. I don't watch anymore. I stop watching. I turn it off. Might even throw away my TV at that point. Like, I don't need to watch anymore.
I'm just telling you, the way they've been advertising it, they keep referring to it as the main event.
Well,
And
TKO owns WWE now. And are you a UFC guy?
Do I
you watch UFC? Are you a UFC guy? Do you watch UFC?
Not like I used to. I mean, yes, I know UFC is obviously.
Well, yes, I know you know what it is, but I know I'm not telling you about this foreign company called UFC. But they have co-main events, and one of the
Yes.
and they call it that. Well, all I'm saying is that we've seen a lot of WWE taking pieces from UFC. The ref's attire, just even like the ring itself is a little bit darker. Them having their superstars in the crowd and then panning to them. They're taking little things like that. Why would they not consider taking a little thing and calling it a co-main event? I know it's silly, and I think it's the kind of thing that got Punk to leave the company, because they tried to argue that The Undertaker was really the main event, even if it wasn't the one that went on last. That's what irritated him the most.
Oh, yeah.
And if they tried to do that with Punk again, he'd probably revolt. But it might be something they try to do to make it seem special. Have 4 main events, 2 on one day, 2 on the other, with the main event and a co-main event. I don't know. You heard it here first. We're going to hear them use the term co-main event. That's what I'm saying. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Small, but I think that's going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see. Not a lot. We don't have a lot set in stone. And I'm not going to go back and look to see how much was set in stone in the middle of February or the end of February in last year. But we only have 2 matches, I think, right? I think we just have.
Yes, we have this one, which we've been discussing, and then Charlotte Flair officially picked Tiffy Time as her WrestleMania opponent.
I was there, the 4 of you. I saw it happen. I was sitting there, and the Queen came down looking very bronze, I will say. She had a different skin tone than I recall her having. She must have been hanging around Bianca Belair and Naomi too much, but she wanted to be in the middle at WrestleMania like them, so she took it into her own hands. Anyways, she came out. She had a chair. She sat down. She woke Tiffy up. Tiffy, see you at WrestleMania. We're getting a match that yours truly, Wade, predicted when this podcast first started a year ago. You predicted that we would get Tiffy versus Charlotte Flair. And while you get a lot wrong, this is not one of those things. You got it right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On the prediction.
Thank you.
On the prediction.
In fact, I'm proud of myself too, because of the fact that I picked Tiffy to do it. I think I said she'd win Money in the Bank. And then it would lead to her doing this. So yeah.
What you didn't do was pick Charlotte Flair to win the Rumble to make it happen.
I did not.
Just saying.
Nah. And you know, and I can make this argument about Jay. It wasn't necessary for either one of them to win the Rumble to set up those programs.
How do you set up the program and get Tiffy and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania if she doesn't win the Rumble?
They could establish that. I think just that is a match that just the entitled Tiffy, or the spoiled rotten Tiffy versus the, hey, you may be the up and comer, but I'm the queen and I'm back. And just that's easy. That one was easy because of crowd reaction. And then
but there's only two ways to get a title match these days: the winner of the Elimination Chamber, the winner of the Rumble. So she had to win one, right?
Okay, yeah, that's true. But they could have had her win. They could have had her win Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I mean, they could have.
Yeah, I don't think either. Okay, yes, what you're saying is true. I don't think either had to be given the Royal Rumble win. Now, Jay's, that place went nuts. The pop, hey, that it is what it is. But especially in the case of Charlotte, that could have waited till Elimination Chamber. But
the only thing I'll say about that is Charlotte's coming back from injury.
Mm-hmm.
What's more dangerous? Elimination Chamber or Royal Rumble? So to protect her, you let her win the Rumble.
That's fair.
Because it's so much more physical at the Elimination Chamber. We talked about this last time. She didn't do anything at the Rumble. She barely broke a sweat. She was able to hide the entire time. The only move she did was a chop. So she was able to protect herself. It's much more difficult to hide in an Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair.
Yeah. And do you really want to see Jay win Elimination Chamber? The moment was better for him winning the Rumble, even though I didn't like it.
I personally, okay.
The pop's going to be bigger winning a Rumble than it's going to be winning a Chamber.
I don't know. Just seeing where the injury happened and finishing runner-up last year, and the fact he's never won one, I would have liked to have seen CM Punk personally win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I picked him.
But
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that was my pick. I wanted CM Punk to win too.
I did not. And I'm going to be extra upset.
He almost won.
I'm going to be extra upset if The Rock ends up in the main event anyways, and he wasn't even in the Royal Rumble.
If he wants to, he will. Gosh, what was I about to say about? Okay, so we also, even though I just said this, they've put themselves in a position where whoever wins the Chamber, whoever wins the Rumble, they're going to get the two title matches. But there's nothing saying that somebody can't win the Elimination Chamber and then that we get a triple threat. So that's something that we need to think about, because that could potentially open up a spot for a guy like The Rock to fight Cody Rhodes, have CM Punk win the Chamber, and then have it be CM Punk, Gunther, Jey Uso, or something. I don't want to see that, but
no, neither do I.
That could be something that they try to explore, but there's nothing that precludes it from being a triple threat match and have both winners fight the same person. So something to think about. We've got options, but let's talk more about Tiffy. Who wins WrestleMania 41, Tiffy versus Charlotte?
It has to be Tiffy. They have to. They have to. But they may not. But this will be interesting, because the last time we saw Charlotte at WrestleMania, they had Rhea go over. Do they have her lose again? at WrestleMania.
I think they know yet. I don't think they have a winner for that match yet. I
I
think that they want to continue to see the reaction that Tiffany gets between now and then. And if it stays positive, I think she wins. But if it turns sour, they know they have a reliable hand in Charlotte who will take care of the title.
Well, I can tell you right now, based on the reaction Charlotte is getting, it's only going to make Tiffy's response that much better, knowing that what that match is going to be. They failed so miserably with the presentation of her that night after the Royal Rumble. I don't know what they were thinking. They already
fixed it. But they already fixed that. She's a heel now. She's full on heel now. So they already realized, we made a mistake, which is the good thing about this regime. Yes, they can recognize a mistake, and they're not going to then continue to beat it into the ground. So they'll change that. She's the heel. The only thing I'm concerned about is Charlotte gets booed now. What could make Charlotte get booed even more?
Yeah, I don't want that.
But Charlotte winning makes Tiffany a bigger babyface, and it makes her a bigger heel. So I don't want it either. But I think that it could benefit both parties if it happened, even though I don't want it to happen.
The only way that they could reconcile that is if...
Let her win it at SummerSlam or something. Went back.
I hope not. I'm hoping that this ends with the prettiest moonsault ever in the one.
It's going to end with Nia Jax coming in, doing her finisher on Tiffy.
Now, but since you brought that up, I am a little concerned at how that championship match with those two ended in a screwy disqualification finish and not a definitive win for Tiffy. That makes it seem like, yes, they are going to revisit that, and I'm not sure when. I don't know if it's going to be...
I know when. I got it.
No.
What I just said about the men is not happening with the men. It's going to be Nia Jax versus Charlotte versus Tiffy.
No.
In a triple threat match.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here.
I'm trying to think. Well, or they could do what they did last year, and because last year at the Chamber, the title, the women's title was up for grabs, or one of them, anyways. And when Rhea beat Nia, they could go that direction. They could have Nia versus Tiffy at Chamber, but did they? I feel like seeds were planted for Stratusfaction having a match with somebody.
She's having one at Elimination Chamber, right?
I would assume, since it's in Canada.
Yeah, it's her and Tiffy versus
who? Wait, it's already been announced?
I thought they announced it at the SmackDown I was at. I could be wrong. Trish Stratus Elimination Chamber. Jackson Candice LeRae versus Tiffy and Trish.
That's official?
Well, WWE posted. I thought that they said they were going to do it, and then WWE posted Tiffy and Trishy time, make that official at Real Nick Aldis. And
okay,
Nick Aldis has not made it official yet, but it's official. So it's all but official.
Okay. All right. Well, then, never mind. Guess the title's not being defended. They've got to have a definitive winner. They've got to revisit that with the build for that they had. I don't like... They've got to revisit that at some point. And I think it should have been in a one-on-one, but I guess they'll do it on a SmackDown. They're going to have to.
Yeah.
And Tiffy needs a definitive win.
Yeah. We'll see if she gets it. But what other matches do you think are going to be at WrestleMania?
Dude, I don't know. This Rock thing is throwing a wrench in lots of stuff. It's looking like Jacob Fatu versus Solo. Unless they...
That's going to be good, I think. Jacob Fatu is going to be good.
Any chance they do Rock and Roman versus Jacob and Solo?
No.
Okay.
That has to main event. There's no way around that main eventing, because that is going to appeal to wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans alike. That has to main event. I do know we're going to get Moose versus Obafemi, I think, in whatever NXT pay-per-view they have at that point in time.
Okay, so I saw when you sent me that, but when I was reading the grades and the recap, and one of them that I read was so poorly written, and I was so confused, and I think they were putting the wrong names in there for one of the matches, but I swear after Moose came out that they said something about Wes Lee challenging Moose for the X Division title for TNA. I was like, okay, how do you go from Moose coming out to stare down Obafemi to somebody else challenging him? I was so confused, but I have not seen it yet. But Moose versus Oba is a match, or at least an interaction, but a match I've been calling for Moose to come out for a long time.
And it's got the right races to WWE, get the
But
black guy comes out, who's going to compete against another black guy?
and I immediately thought of you. I was like, as much as I've been genuinely wanting to see this, it is funny because we discussed this quite a bit. But,
Yeah, it makes sense just based off of the way they both look. Like putting aside them being black, they have very similar builds. But
two as Booker T says, no bread, no water, just meat.
Yeah.
And I am here for it, man. Obafemi is a star.
Yep. He's been on that roster too long. If he is, what day is WrestleMania?
Easter weekend.
Okay. What day does Easter fall on this year?
It's a little bit later. It's in the middle of April. Yeah, because Fat Tuesday's not till the beginning of March.
It's April 19th and April 20th is WrestleMania.
Dang, that's late, man.
If on April 1st, Obafemi is still on NXT, then I don't know what Triple H is doing. We have not had a good Raw after WrestleMania in 4 or 5 years.
Well,
maybe since we went. They need something. And I'm not even saying he's going to make that a good Raw to WrestleMania, because he's probably not. But they gotta start just pulling the trigger on some of these NXT people. They need to get their call-ups. It's too stacked down there.
I think and by the way, apparently I was wrong. I thought, from what I read, oh my gosh, the Juggernaut, what's her name?
Jordynne Grace.
Thank you. I thought what I read when she signed with WWE, she was main roster already. Then she shows up at the end of Vengeance Day in the ring with the new NXT Women's North American Champion Stephanie Vakir. That was a great match. And Julia, who won her Fatal 4-Way. And then the Juggernaut comes out with a We Are NXT shirt. It's like, okay, now we're even more crowded. But with that said, with that being a recent signing, I think it's probably safe to say they've probably had penciled in some of these WrestleMania title matches for months.
Yeah.
And so maybe they just want to keep exposing her on television and get her in the ring. And so that's one way to do it. And then I see that being a call-up, the Raw or SmackDown after. I think Roxanne Perez is coming up, and I'm very interested to see what they do with Julia and Stephanie Vakir, because both of them are ready right this second.
Yeah.
But
so is Jordynne Grace. These people don't need to go to NXT.
Yeah. But I see why they do it, because especially with a new TV deal, it draws interest. It brings great wrestling to that brand.
They have an infinite supply of great wrestling. They don't.
I know, but and they keep touting them, which they're not lying, the best women's division in wrestling. And I don't think many people can argue with that, top to bottom.
Yeah.
And they've got to bring Fraxium up to the main roster.
Especially with how weak their tag team division is right now.
Oh, dude.
It's non-existent.
Dude, I wouldn't leave the TV if it was Fraxium versus Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah.
Hey, put them on SmackDown 25 minutes. I'm there the whole time.
Yeah.
God, I think Julia and Vakir should be called up ASAP, but I don't know if they want to call both of them up at the same time.
They're going to do something stupid like making a tag team.
Don't say that, please. Please don't do it. Oh, hey, and I don't know if she was doing this before. I remember seeing her finishing move she has with the knee to the back. I can't remember what it's called that Vakir does, but she did AJ's old finisher to win the title. She did that move, her regular one, and then she went up and did the spiral tap off the rope, and it looked good. And I was like, oh, I was like, I told my youngest, like, that's AJ Styles' old move when he was a much younger man. and and then she was like, let me see. And so I showed her. And then when I was watching some of his highlights doing it, I was like, man, I think she hit it more clean than he did.
Yeah.
And but dude, she's great. Yeah, man, it's gonna be very interesting. There's so much interesting stuff going on right now. But this whole thing with The Rock, just the announcing, oh, anything can change, and something has happened. I don't know if a schedule conflict went away or something happened, or maybe somebody's injured that we're not aware of yet, and he decided to come back. I don't know, but that was
we'll find out.
Oh, yep. Yes.
We'll find out here soon. But a couple things going on in wrestling. Did you see that Elias was at TNA?
I did not.
He teamed up with Joe Hendry on TNA. So
is a concert forthcoming?
There was a concert, I believe, that he did a little ditty of some sort.
No.
He played something. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But I'm an Elias fan. I thought he was very talented. I was a fan of Ezekiel too. But I think that he's changed his name. I think he's now Elijah. Is what I think. But I'd love to see him back in the WWE. Love to see him back. And what else is going on in the wrestling world? There's so much going on. It's WrestleMania season. The road to WrestleMania.
Ricky Starks. Ricky.
It's not his name, but yeah.
They kept Ricky, and you could see it coming because they wouldn't say his name in any of the promos they were doing.
Yeah.
And what is it now? What is his name?
Ricky Stars or something? Ricky Staines? Ricky
Starks.
Saints.
Ricky Saints, okay. And my youngest is already doing his little thing he does. Yeah, and it's and you got to think at some point Rusev and Malachi Black are coming back.
Yeah.
Very interested to see what happens with Britt Baker, because there's a lot of rumors circulating about her and her status with TNA at this time. I think plenty of ready-made feuds.
TNA?
Did I say
AEW?
I'm sorry. With AEW, her status with AEW, and because there are several of ready-made feuds for a character like her in WWE.
I'd love to see her and Chelsea Green. That's what I want to see.
I would love to see her versus Becky Lynch. I'd love to see her.
When's Becky coming back?
Dude, I don't know. This is weird. Why is she not back yet? Why is she? Didn't they already do the last Elimination Chamber qualifying thing? Aren't those matches set? Why is she not?
I have no idea.
Because from the last thing I saw, she has inked a new contract.
Maybe she interferes in one of the title matches at WrestleMania.
I hope not. No. I do not want that to happen.
Yep, that's what's happening.
No, you want to talk about her being put into something for a triple threat? I could see that happening.
Yeah, but you never know. But
I would like to see
silent.
There's been talk about Liv versus Alexa at Mania. We may have touched on this last time. I think that'd be a good match.
Yeah.
Who else?
You got to get Drew McIntyre involved.
Yes, and that'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Got to get KO involved.
Yeah, okay, and that's another thing. I was very surprised to see. Well, not surprised because
KO versus Sammy could be a match.
Well, no, they're already having an unsanctioned match at Elimination Chamber in Canada, which I thought that very easily that could have been one to lead off WrestleMania.
Still could be.
You really do that two big events in a row?
Make it a Hell in the Cell at WrestleMania.
Yes, very. Yeah, I'd be for that.
Yeah,
they've been hinting at AJ versus Braun Breaker. I'm just wondering if
Yeah.
that happens at Elimination because, dude, I figured it was going to be Sheamus finally winning it at WrestleMania,
Yeah.
which I guess it still could be. They could do a triple threat match, but I like the idea of AJ versus Braun Breaker. I think that'd be a great win for Breaker because I think at this point AJ would probably almost demand that Braun goes over.
I agree. Squash him if you ask me. But yeah.
Nah, I don't. I don't like guys that are that good getting squashed. Me personally. But I know it's been done, and if it would be somebody that does it to be believable, yes. But
if Cena can get squashed by Brock Lesnar, then AJ Styles can get squashed by Braun Breaker.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, but we shall see.
We shall see. What else is going on in the wrestling world? We touched on a lot already.
I'm trying to think. Anybody else come back? Yeah, I think the biggest question marks right now are Rock, Roman, Seth, Punk. Where do they all fit in the main event?
Biggest question marks of the entire roster. Here are their names.
I mean, that's a few big names right there. And then, like you said, Becky Lynch. Where is Becky Lynch?
Yeah,
and
nowhere to be found. With their baby.
I feel like I'm missing a match or something here. I don't know.
Well, we don't need to know yet because we have 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months until the main event. 2 months today, actually.
Yeah.
Until night 2 of WrestleMania. So that is something that we will be continuing to talk about and keeping our eye on as we navigate through the wrestling waters.
Yeah, too. And I will definitely be looking forward to SmackDown and see what's going on with The Rock tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'd be remiss if I did not say how amazing I thought it was when Gunther went through the crowd on Monday.
Yeah.
The only thing I think would have made that better is if he tricked the crowd and would have had the music playing when he came out.
Gunther's on fire right now. Speaking of on fire, we're on fire because we are back on a schedule. We have now done back-to-back weeks. And we were talking WrestleMania. So if you like what you heard, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And we will see you on the next episode of the Golden Squeeze Podcast. Oh, yeah.